and welcome to Meticulous Moments. My name is Juanita Kapp. You can reach me at meticulousmacarons@gmail.com or find me on LinkedIn. Since the COVID-19 pandemic hit the globe, I've had the wonderful privilege to meet a wide array of fantastic individuals. These individuals have truly touched my life in so many positive ways. Amongst this group of people, there are authors, public speakers, life coaches, poets, leaders, and visionaries. They are the unsung heroes of our time. Therefore, I decided to start the Meticulous Moments movement out of a sense of my gratitude. It is my way of giving back to the community. Let us share and reshare their stories in an effort to build a better society. This evening we are joined by the formidable Mathew Warboys. Mathew is the CEO of the CEO Hub, having also been voted in the top 40 CEOs in the world. He is the co-founder of LinkedIn for Success as well as the Dream Job Hub. He has been counted under the top 10 LinkedIn coaches, Yahoo and Finance. He has been shortlisted 3 times for the Junior Nobel Prize, including twice in economics. Currently, Mathew specializes in helping Fortune 500 companies to boost their brand awareness and revenue growth through LinkedIn. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Meticulous Moments. This evening, we are joined by none other than the formidable Mathew Warboys. Mathew, welcome. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Really well, and really grateful for the opportunity to speak. I'm really looking forward to finding out what we can achieve here.
Wonderful. I'm sure we can achieve a lot together, and I know I'm going to learn a lot during this session. So thank you for being here this evening. And with that, please introduce yourself to us. We would love to know more about you.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I'm the CEO of the CEO Hub, and we have various different divisions here. So we have Dream Job Hub, we have LinkedIn for Success, we have MW Editorial Services, Graphics That Convert, and many other different divisions and philanthropic activities as well. I was honored enough to be voted top 40 CEO in the world last year, and I'm also a top 10 LinkedIn coach with Yahoo Finance, and looking to continue making the biggest contribution I possibly can. So yeah, it's fantastic to be here.
Wow, that's a big scope. And also wonderful accomplishments, and I'm sure there's a lot of hard work that went into all those projects.
Absolutely. Hard work and smart work, I would say, is the killer combination.
Fantastic. Mathew, tell me, as the CEO of the CEO Hub and the co-founder of LinkedIn for Success, I would love to have your opinion on the following question. And the question is as follows: what type of leadership attributes do you look for in a leader?
Yeah, it's a great question, and fundamentally, I think this is the question that all leaders do have to ask themselves, and obviously not everybody always does. But for me, the power of leadership is actually recognizing the limits of what you can do. It's actually about what you can't do on your own. Leadership, for me, it often gets presented as what can the leader do. It's a very active sense of leadership. For me, the power of being a leader is actually to realize what others can do for you and as part of your team. So for me, it's about being able to empower people to be all that they're capable of being and all that they were made to be. Because as an individual, we can only do so much. So I think any great organization, any great enterprise, any great sports team, or anything for that matter, at the end of the day, it can't be one person. It has to be a range of talents, a range of attributes. So one of the things that I'm really proud of here at the CEO Hub is, and I think this is why we have achieved the success that we have, is because I understand that as the CEO, I can only do so much, and I can only show up in a certain way if I have actually looked after myself and bequeathed autonomy to other people. So being able to tap into the skills, talents, and attributes of others, I think it's fundamentally the foundation of leadership for me.
I love that answer. I love that answer because I feel that when people are in a team and they realize that they are there to be developed and appreciated and validated, it makes the goal, the reaching of the goal, so much more pleasant. Because let's face it, we are part of teams and we are most of our time working at work. So if it's an environment where team members feel, they are appreciated and they are important, they are going to take that passion into their work, and it's going to be an amazing result that they render.
Absolutely. No, I totally agree. And the fact is, none of us exist in a vacuum. Whether we like it or not, we're always going to need other people around us. We can only get so far. Even if you're determined to stay a one man or one woman band, we still rely on other people. It will be somebody else that comes to fix your Wi-Fi or your boiler, or it's somebody else that keeps the streets clean when you walk outside. So we're all interdependent. So as a leader, if you don't recognize that, then it's the shortest route to failure, as far as I'm concerned.
I totally agree with you. We are interdependent and we are interconnected. And that's lovely because, we learn so much from each other. Iron sharpens iron. And I always tell teams, if someone else in the team rather than the team leader has a better idea, it's good because at the end of the day, we are working towards the same end result. So it's not about just one person. It's about us as a collective reaching that, whatever we want to reach, that goal or that dream or that plan. So interdependence, very important. Absolutely, absolutely. Mathew, is there a certain leadership style that you personally follow?
Yeah, I think following on from what we've just spoken about there is, I'm totally allergic to micromanagement.
Lovely.
For me, I can never really understand the rationale, because for me, micromanagement always comes from a place of insecurity, a place of fear, a place of control. I think my philosophy is basically hire the best people and then let them get on with why I've hired them. If I were to micromanage somebody that I brought on board, all that would say is I don't trust the decision that I personally have made. And I do trust myself to bring on board the right people into the team. So all my decision making goes into that process. And then once somebody's in the team, I totally trust them to be there and to be there on merit. And, as you alluded to before, I don't care whether the idea comes from myself. I don't care whether it comes from somebody at a board level. I don't care whether it comes from an intern. If somebody is here and they're willing to generate ideas, then I'm willing to listen. And I think that is really the hallmark of good leadership, and that is my style as well. And I'd very much hope that the other people in my team would agree that is my style.
I'm sure they will. So in actual fact, you enable them to do, to be better than they ever imagined they could be. And I was thinking as you were speaking that it's ironic because micromanagers, the ones that we find that want to micromanage, want to increase output, right? But at the end of the day, they decrease output. And instead of making it a reflection of the employee that's maybe not on par and so forth, it's actually, like you said, a reflection of their own insecurities, which I think is a paradox, So instead of micromanaging, just trust people and trust your own instinct when like you've said, when you've appointed people.
Absolutely. And again, it's about recognizing the limits of what we can do. I mean, if somebody asks me to I don't know, fix a boiler, then I don't have a clue how to do that. So at some point, we're going to have to give somebody the chance to allow their own individual talents to flourish. So, I've got, I would hope, a range of experience, but there's going to be people that know more than me about certain topics. So a leader really has to tap into that. It's not about what you can do, it's about what you empower other people to do as part of the collective whole.
Excellent. I agree with you. Tell me, how important is continuous leadership training and development in your opinion?
Oh, it's absolutely vital. And again, it all comes down to humbling yourself as a leader. And I see this a lot with people in leadership positions and other CEOs. There's a temptation to have a certain arrogance that can go with that. It's kind of, I'm in this position, other people are below me. And even myself as a CEO, once, there's times when I've tried to network with other CEOs and, they can come across as frosty or unreceptive or, unwilling to countenance other ideas or have a conversation. For me, the beginning of wisdom is to accept your own limitations. I always say the smartest person in the world is the person that humbles themselves and recognizes what they don't know. And the most stupid person in the world is the person that thinks they're the smartest.
Yes.
It's this paradox, because actually the beginning of wisdom is really to humble yourself. There's that phrase, the biblical phrase, to wrestle with God. That's what the definition of excuse me. That's what the definition of Israel actually means. It means he who wrestles with God. And I think the idea that you're always subordinate to something or somebody or some force is something that we should never lose sight of, because when you start to take on too much yourself and think that actually you're infallible, that everything comes through you, that's when that continuous development doesn't take place. So actually humbling yourself and realizing that we can all improve. Like, I certainly don't think, all done and dusted, top 40 CEO, that's fantastic. Like, I can always grow, I can always improve, I can always learn from other people. And it doesn't matter who that other person is. Like, they might be somebody that's regarded in a low position for the rest of society, but you could go out into the street and somebody that's found themselves at the bottom of society, as other people would say, I can still learn from that person, I can still understand their experiences, I can still gain wisdom from that person. So whether you're a CEO or whether you're homeless, I can learn something from you, and I can develop as a person and as a leader from that. So continuing professional development, continuing leadership development is absolutely fundamental to my point of view and philosophy.
I just love that. Always, we never stop learning. We've never arrived. If you're a leader, you are committed, or should be committed, to lifelong learning in any aspect, not just in work, but in personal life. And I was also thinking, when you were talking about, that you have been around the block, you've seen some people that think they know everything, that they, reach that pinnacle. And I was thinking, ignorance is bliss. because they are really of the opinion that they know everything. And that is so sad, because they're not going to be able to be teachable. And they'll miss those valuable lessons.
Absolutely. And, everything in this life is finite as well. So it's about humility. Like, you can be the richest person in the world, but it is kind of it's all contained within this physical world. Like, everything that we gain in this world, we leave behind in this world. So, anything material is kind of destined to be left behind. So if we kind of get above our station and we kind of judge ourselves based on money, material items, status, then life is a great leveler, because we're all born into the same situation, the same human struggle to survive, and we all end up in the same place as well. So anything that happens in between shouldn't go to our heads, and we should always stay humble, and be grateful for kind of what life and God has given us.
Absolutely. Amen to that. I'm thinking now that, COVID showed us how human we all are. It didn't matter what status people held or where in the world they lived. COVID showed us we are all just finite, like you said, and we are all just human. And therefore, my opinion has always been to treat absolutely everybody, doesn't matter which social status they hold, with dignity. Because people they are humans, and they must be treated with dignity. And I think if we apply that also in our teams, in leadership, we will get the best out of people, and they will be loving the job that they do, and they will be learning as we learn from them.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, that's the Jesus story right there. Is, I think the reason why the Jesus narrative has stood the test of time is that you have somebody that was willing to reach out to the underdog, the outcast, the person that was shunned. And that's such a powerful message. I mean, you have God incarnate that's speaking to the homeless, that's speaking to the downcast. And, if God's doing that, the idea that we should elevate ourselves above that and think that somehow we're better than having to do that is particularly perverse to me. So I totally resonate with what you're saying there.
Amen to that. My next question is, you were shortlisted 3 times for the Junior Nobel Prize. Please tell me more about that. I'm very interested to hear.
Oh, no, thank you very much for mentioning that. That's an achievement that I'm definitely very proud of. So I was shortlisted in economics in 2014 and 2015, and also in politics and international relations in 2019.
That's amazing.
So I was honoured enough to be able to go to what they call the Global Summit twice. So we had an award ceremony with the President of Ireland, which was fantastic. That's where the award is based. I came first in Europe in economics. And that was for my research into the economics of famines. So I was looking at why famines occur from an economic perspective, and trying to explain how famous famines in Bangladesh and Bengal had come to fruition. I was very honoured by that, and learned a lot as part of the process. And it's actually fantastic, because having been awarded on those 3 occasions this year I've actually turned from applicant to judge. So
wow, congratulations! That's fantastic.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's very exciting. That's ongoing at the moment. So I'm judging in the politics and international relations category, and there's fantastic candidates. So So yeah, I'm honoured to have turned candidate to judge. So that's fantastic.
That is wonderful, wonderful. I'm thinking of that scripture that says there is fruit in all labor. All your efforts have paid off and have brought you to this place. Congratulations. It's a huge milestone.
Thank you very much. And that is definitely a fantastic passage of scripture. Yeah, really appreciate that.
Pleasure, pleasure, Mathew. I read that you currently help Fortune 500 companies to boost their brand awareness and revenue growth. Can you please elaborate on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously my capacity as a top 10 LinkedIn coach and being a co-founder of LinkedIn for Success, we help entrepreneurs and corporations with their LinkedIn presence. And a big part of that is helping Fortune 500 companies who, if they leverage LinkedIn in the right way, I know it's a cliche, but it really can end up being a gold mine for people that use it in the right way. And this is built on how I built my businesses through LinkedIn. So this isn't new knowledge that I plucked out of the air. This is kind of what I did to build my businesses on LinkedIn. And I'm convinced that foundationally for Fortune 500 companies, brand awareness through content creation is absolutely the foundational principle to bear in mind, because the organic reach on LinkedIn is absolutely huge. You know, each LinkedIn post, even for myself as an individual, you can get at least 15,000 views on a regular basis per post. So, you're looking at hundreds of thousands of views per week. And if you can convert a small percentage of that traffic into external conversions, then actually you're doing really well. And, the scale is even bigger for Fortune 500 companies. If you're getting millions of organic views, you're directing that traffic to your website, then it's such a huge return on investment that it makes it a complete no-brainer from my point of view.
Wonderful, wonderful. Taking what is already there and utilizing it to bring progress and growth, and to establish your movement and your business, that is amazing. So just having that technical know-how already helps. So I think that's very interesting. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
I can imagine how busy you must be during the week. So my question is, how do you manage to facilitate work-life balance in your life?
Yeah, well, that's a fantastic question. And one of the things that I'm actually working on at the moment with a great friend and connection of mine called Madeline Fiella is we're working on a movement called the Concentric Leader. So we're all about basically starting with the self and then working out in concentric circles to the rest of the community. So we fundamentally believe that as a leader, you have to kind of work on your self in order to be able to show up for other people. And in that spirit, I try to practice kind of what I preach and do kind of try to take care of myself. Obviously, I'm not perfect. I'm not the finished article. I probably do still work more than is healthy at times, but at the same time, I do try to carve out kind of sacrosanct times for leisure. I'm a big advocate of going to the gym, so I go to the leisure centre. I'm about to start rowing, hopefully joining. So that's going to be fantastic. I love basketball, and I just like things like going to the cinema and spending time with friends and family. And I try to do my best to set those boundaries and to make sure that I always have that leisure time in there, because it's super important.
Extremely important. It's good that you balance, relaxing with exercising, with spending time, I'm sure, on your own as well, because, sometimes we just need to get to that place where we find that solitude. I personally have a place where I go to find that solitude because life is so busy and we
Mm.
are available these days 24/7. The hybrid space has created a vacuum kind of where we are just always available. So for me, I put my phone off and I go to a certain place to find solitude. But as long as we are cognizant of the fact that we need that sleep, we need that rest. We need to just go watch a movie, not think about anything, but also working. It's good, that sense of accomplishment when we finished our day tasks, and you've attended to everything in your diary. So I think it's a daily thing. And morning routine is big at the moment. I've heard a lot of people speaking about having a morning routine. Do you have a morning routine set in place?
I do. I often actually flip that on its head a little bit. So me personally, I get up and I get kind of as much work done as I can, kind of ASAP.
Good.
Because I privilege kind of having space at the end of the day. So I work on the assumption that if I get up and I get at it and I do everything that I need to do, I coordinate the team, I do my content for the day, deal with clients, then it means that I've got more opportunity to relax kind of at the end of the day. So whether that's kind of going to the gym or the cinema or something like that. But yeah, we definitely need that solitude. And again, coming back to the Bible, like even God incarnate, we have so many examples where Jesus goes off into solitude in order to be able to reflect. So, if it's good enough for God, then it's definitely good enough for us.
Amen.
We need that time in nature, and I think in many ways it comes down to flipping our conception of what is productive.
Yes.
This comes back to micromanagement. So you have some companies that are measuring, keyboard strokes, how many times people are tapping the keys. And it's a very perverse way of measuring productivity. Because if you sit back for 5 minutes and meditate and think on an issue, actually that time might be more productive than actually just kind of hitting the keyboard for as long as you possibly can. Or I make time to go hiking in nature, and I invariably get my best business ideas when I'm sat in nature. And it just comes to you like, oh, that's what we need to do, that's what we need to launch, that's the conversation I need to have, that's the thing that I need to execute. So we need to stop viewing these things as somehow unproductive time, like it's all complementary and it all fits together.
I love that. And I also love hiking. Here in South Africa, we have astoundingly beautiful mountains. So when I have something I'm kind of chewing on, thinking about, or if I need an idea, I go on that hike, I go sit in the sun where there's nothing but myself and the wind. And let me tell you, if I go down that mountain, I have inspiration and I know what I'm going to do. I agree with you. Taking that time off is very productive, and it's also healthy for our mental health,
Absolutely. It's completely foundational. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I'm inspired to check out some of the hikes in South Africa now. That sounds lovely.
Yes, you must come to the Eastern Cape and I will go and show you.
Yeah, that sounds excellent. Yeah, absolutely. I'll hold you to that. Yeah, that sounds great. Thank you.
Good. So tell me, Mathew, what hobbies do you have? How do you like to spend your free time?
Yeah, definitely sport and exercise. As I say, I'm hoping to join a rowing team soon. It's been a passion of mine for a while. Been to a session recently. Going to be doing a summer camp starting very soon. Doing rowing, and then hopefully join the team and I'm a big fan of basketball as well. I'm 6'5", which obviously you can't tell on here, but
I actually did not know that.
yeah. So that lends itself quite nicely to basketball.
Good.
Yeah, try and be as active as I possibly can. Try and keep up with my hiking. Really love nature. Love time by the lake. And yeah, I find that it doesn't detract from work. It acts as a complement to it. So yeah, again, I don't always find as much time as I would like, but I definitely try.
Good, good. So the rowing is a thing, the basketball is a thing, gymming and nature. And if you had to pick one, which one would be your favorite hobby?
Oh, I probably pick basketball. I like the challenge. I do like the competition. I like the competition against oneself as well, to get better, to improve.
Yes.
Incremental change and development, I think, is a fantastic thing in life. I always try to say to myself, end each day a little bit further forward than the day before, because the aggregate impact across, say, 5 years can be huge. If you just end each day that little bit further forward, the aggregate impact across even a few years will be absolutely huge, whether it's sport, exercise, personal training, business. Just end each day a bit further forward than the day before, and you're definitely going in the right direction if you do that.
Definitely. And don't compare yourself to other people. Compare yourself to the person you were yesterday, because if you compare, and I mean in personal development senses, if you compare, you compete. And then your focus is on the other person instead of self-development,
Absolutely. And the fact is, it's an impossible thing, because, if you pick somebody and you try to compare yourself to that person, there's so many different dimensions to life that it's absolutely impossible to be able to compare. So, somebody might be a billionaire, and if you're comparing yourself to that person, then it looks like you're failing. But if that person just found out last week that their wife has cancer, they're not exactly succeeding on that metric in life. So, we can all look at people and say, oh, they've got a perfect life, they've got a perfect existence. But there's so many metrics in life. Financial is just one, status is just one, health, family, friends, freedom from addiction, spiritual life, relationship with God. There's so many ways that actually, if we look in a very deep introspective sense, that we can regard ourselves as succeeding. And the quote that you just mentioned is a fantastic one, and it reminds me a lot of Jordan Peterson's work.
I love Jordan Peterson's work.
Absolutely. And basically, the principle that you just outlined there is very similar to rule number 4 in 12 Rules for Life, which is compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who somebody else is today. And I think that is a very pertinent and poignant philosophy that we all need to bear in mind. Just taking that time to realize how far we've come as an individual, and looking at our own personal growth, and not comparing, because ultimately it is futile.
Valid point, absolutely. And there are, like you've said, metrics. There's too many variables. You cannot compare. There is just no margin for that. So why waste that time and energy and effort on that? Rather use that to stay, to stick with positive thinking and work on yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with you. Totally agree.
Wonderful. Do you perceive that managers should have a sound knowledge of how to work with team members who have personalities that differ from their own?
Yeah, that's a fantastic point, actually, because one of the things is that in leadership positions, people can fall into the trap of thinking that kind of what motivates you, what makes you feel productive, is the same for everybody. And, personalities range in numerous different ways. Obviously, some people are introverts, some people are extroverts, some people are ambiverts. Some people thrive based on social interaction. Some people like to just get their head down and work in an autonomous way. And really, kind of going back to where we started this conversation, a great leader is the person that can tap in to all of the different dynamics, because every business needs a balance. You know, if you're going to succeed as a business, you need people that are good with people. You need people that are good with things. You need people that are good with ideas. You need people that are creative. You need people that are logical. And the idea that we should kind of funnel all our workforce through a very narrow prism is completely the opposite reason why we build a team in the first place. There's certain things that I'm fantastic at, and there's certain things that I'm less fantastic at. And the beauty about building a team is the things that we are less fantastic at as an individual, then if we're sensible with our recruitment and our networking, then we can find somebody that is fantastic at those things. And we're not going to make somebody that, isn't a people person into the person that loves going and making presentations. And we're not going to make the person that loves to be around people sit in isolation all day. So it's really about finding where the strengths of the individual lie. And it's about being guided by that other person in the process. It's about, for me, leadership is the fewer assumptions you can make about other people, the better. And we all make those assumptions, and we have to kind of check ourselves and step back and say, actually, having met somebody, having spoken to them, we get certain instincts, but we don't know somebody's full story or kind of what makes them tick. So in my team, I've tried to find out, what people like, what they don't like, try to play to people's strengths, and always ask for feedback as well. I always ask, like, what do you need from me? What can we change? How can we do things differently? I'm not the kind of CEO that thinks, you're paid to do a job, so just kind of get on with it. Come to me. Like, if you've got a problem, if you've got an issue, if you're stressed, if you're anxious, if you've got trouble, if there's like a family problem or a problem outside of work, I'm not one of these kind of leaders that thinks, just kind of leave it at the door and don't mention it, because at the end of the day, we are holistic beings. Like, if you've had a bereavement at home, for example, don't think that that's not work related and that you can't mention it. Bring that to me, because at the end of the day, your mind doesn't stop at the door, your emotions don't stop at the door. So, bring those issues to me and let's deal with them together.
I love that, because I'm thinking of the phrase psychological safe place.
Right.
And I'm thinking, that when people feel they can bring that to their CEO, like, for instance, in your company, how much better will they then perform, and how much happier will they be? Now, I've been in the ministry for 15 years, so I've had to learn to work with different people with different personalities.
Right.
And often when there are quarrels that arise in the congregation, I would identify that it's really just a personality clash, often. And then I would just take them and describe to them. We would do the DISC test, for instance, and I would describe to them that what is important to the one individual is not necessarily as important to the next. And I would teach them how to work with each other. And I think it's good if a leader can do that, recognize where the places are that is not working well, where the people are, quarreling, and what about, and to see what is the underlying problem. Because sometimes it's not really what we see at the surface. It's something else. It's just a personality clash or a difference of opinion. So if they are feeling like they are allowed to agree to disagree, how much faster would that problem be solved then?
Absolutely. And, another foundational principle is always believe that the other person has something interesting to say. I think that most, as you say, quarrels tend to come down to the fact that you can't put yourself in the position of the other person and think, like, I'm going to assume that they have something interesting and important to say. And, a good strategy is always to try and articulate the other person's argument. So actually, if you've got two people that have a different view, it's easy to articulate your own view and why you think the other view is wrong. But actually, if you ask two people to try and articulate the argument of the other person, the very nature of that task, trying to articulate the other person's opinion, makes you try to work out where they're coming from. I think a lot more of that approach should be really healthy in organizations.
I find that very interesting. I agree with you, definitely. Do you think that in-house counseling should be available to employees after the COVID-19 pandemic surfaced?
Yeah, that's a very good point. And, I think it's one of those things that is, broadly useful anyway. Whether it's COVID or whether it's some of the other issues we mentioned, like a bereavement out of work or a mental health difficulty. The fact is, so much productive potential is lost through mental health problems, lack of sleep, problems at home, poor nutrition, lack of exercise. A whole myriad of things make you productive at work. And this is why long gone, I think, are the days where we view work as this kind of separate, hived off entity, and that people can just kind of leave all of their personal development stuff at the door. Actually, one of the things that I'm working on at the moment, which we'll probably come on to talk about a little bit more in a little while, is we're launching a CEO membership. And one of the things that we're looking to do is actually encourage a very holistic view of leadership and also how you cater for the corporation. So actually, we're launching a 12-week membership whereby people can get help for their corporation when it comes to burnout prevention, stress prevention, sleep, nutrition, exercise. And we have 7 experts on all of these different pillars to really guide an organization in a holistic way. So yeah, I think any investment like that in kind of counseling and in kind of self-help and development is fundamental, I think, and it has such a big return on investment that it makes it a real no-brainer in my view.
That is so true. I've been telling people for years that when we work with people, we have to help them in a holistic manner. Absolutely. They are body, soul, and spirit. We cannot just work on the body or just on the soul or just on the spirit. Somewhere there is going to be a hiccup or a lack. So when we treat them, because in the previous years, decades ago, we used to either counsel them at the church, or they would go to a psychologist, or they would go to the doctor if they had a chemical imbalance. But we should take that and, put it together and in a holistic manner, let them go for counseling, have them checked out at the doctor and schedule a session at the psychologist, because they are more than one. They are body, soul, and spirit. So I love the project that you're working on. I would love to know more about that. That is food for my spirit. So we must really have a discussion on that.
Yeah, I look forward to that. Yeah, definitely.
Tell me, Mathew, how, in your opinion, did the new normal, and we call it the hybrid workspace, affect the output of businesses thus far?
Yeah, it's a really interesting debate. And if you go on LinkedIn, for example, you'll see that kind of the debate still rages about kind of what's the best model in terms of working, whether it's best to allow people to work from home, in the office, hybrid model. Again, for me, we're largely a work from home, remote business. I personally prefer it that way, just because we're so international, like our team, that it would be impossible to have a kind of a single space to be able to meet. And I think, again, it comes down to the individual and kind of what motivates the individual. Personally, I have never found it a problem to motivate myself to work. So I don't need that kind of in the presence of other people to feel motivated. Some people do. And again, it's about listening to the individual and kind of what motivates them precisely. As I say, we're a total kind of work from home company, because I've got a business partner in Sweden.
Wow.
She used to live in Ukraine. I've got business partners in this country, but that live in different locations. My director of marketing, she's from India. I've got business partners in America, Germany. So we're definitely an international outfit. And, the reason why I'm happy to kind of partner with all the people that I'm partnered with is because, I've known them all for a long time. I networked with them for a long time. There was already a connection there. So I know that they're all similar to me in their capacity to self-motivate. So as an organization, it really takes that self-reflection as to, okay, what kind of motivates people here, what people turns them on in their work, what allows them to get the best out of their capabilities. And, whether that turns out to be a work from home, a work in the office, or a hybrid model, it really is a very individualistic thing, both for individuals and for corporations, I believe.
I think that's fabulous, because you adapted to what we need at the moment. We need to have like businesses that are globally connected. We need to have a wider reach. And I think when leaders are leading teams, and especially for you that is a CEO and other CEOs, you have to be able to have those skills to, work with people in other countries, and you are displaying that trust. You went and you looked for leaders with the attributes that you wanted, the leaders that are self-motivated, and you trust them with the tasks that you give them. So you are a good example of what we have been speaking about.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the generous words there. And I think from my perspective, I personally don't care whether, for example, if it comes to my director of marketing, like we live in different time zones, obviously, and, they have their own, obviously, commitments. From my point of view, I don't care whether you get the work done at home, whether you do the work in a cafe, whether you do the work at night, whether you do the work during the day. Like, for me, it comes down to key performance indicators. So, you give somebody a list of things that need doing. You say, let's check in again in a week or two. If they've done those things, I don't care whether they've done them sat in the bath, as long as they've done them, and we can make progress. Like, I'm not going to demand that they're sat in a certain place between certain hours. Like, I don't care. That's not how I judge productivity. I judge it by how much progress we've made, not how we've made it.
Yeah. Very good, very good. We don't want to be counting those keyboard strokes.
Exactly, yeah.
I'm going to be thinking about that later today. Mathew, what is your vision for 2022, your next projects, the things that you have lined up, any special events, anything that we can follow you on social media for? How can we help?
Absolutely, yeah. There's definitely lots continuing to take place here at the CEO Hub. But actually, I'm I'm working on a few books at the moment, the rest of this year. So I'm going to have a book launched to do with executive job search, another one to do with LinkedIn growth and revenue growth on the platform. And I'm also in the process of launching a foundation called Men Matter Too around male mental health and suicide prevention.
Lovely. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so that's going to have a book for that as well. And we're also in the process of launching a anti-bullying foundation called Don't Be a Victim. So it's all about how to handle those situations, how to navigate those type of horrible situations in the workplace or in school or anywhere else for that matter. So yeah, plenty of books in the pipeline, plenty of foundations that we're currently setting up. And rather excitingly, we've just launched our Dream Job Hub video portal for job seekers and executive job seekers. So if people want to visit dreamjobhub.com, there's plenty of resources on offer there. And as I mentioned, we've got the CEO membership that's due to come soon. And rather excitingly, we're launching a podcast and a magazine at the CEO Hub. So if somebody is a leader or a CEO or an executive and they'd like to appear on the podcast or in the magazine, just reach out to me. I'm always open to connections on LinkedIn. So if anyone just searches my name in there, let's get connected, and always open to network and meet new people.
Excellent, excellent. So truly, to my mind, the projects that you are busy with is in essence you taking your leadership skills and your team and facilitating community upliftment. Because mental health does matter. The projects that you mentioned, they do matter, and that is to me equal to community upliftment. So it's fabulous to hear that the reach is so big and that the vision, is so broad, because everyone has something that they are working on personally.
Absolutely. No, I'm really pleased that it comes across like that, and really I'm grateful for your support and obviously the capacity to get the word out on here as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. So for our audience, please visit dreamjobhope.com and connect with Mathew there. I know he's always open to talking and connecting and, sharing. So that is just fabulous. I really enjoyed connecting with you. And I want to hear, do you have any words of wisdom for the audience that we can leave them with?
Absolutely. I think, in my 30 years on this planet, I think the biggest thing that I've learned that I can pass on is probably, when you make progress in life, when you do bold and brave things, there will be people that will doubt, that will insult, that will let their own limiting beliefs project onto you. There'll be people that will try and take you down. There'll be people that will try and besmirch you. You'll get a lot thrown at you when you try to make strides in life. But at the end of the day, we have two options. Either we shrink in ourselves and we don't take the steps to step out into the world and make a difference, or we take that bold step and we accept that, some people will, it'll elicit insecurity in those people, and that's their issue. There's nothing that we can do about that. So my advice would be always focus on that internal dynamic. And if I could finish with a passage of scripture, which is the one that I love to live my life by, it comes from John chapter 10, verse 10, which is when Jesus is asked why he came to visit us in this mortal realm. He answers, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly.
Abundance.
Uh,
Amen.
So as we strive in life, as we develop, don't lose sight of that overarching passage that, we're here to have life and to have it abundantly. And if you bear that in mind, I think the listeners won't go far wrong.
I love that. I love that, to embrace, your journey and to just walk with God and to know that there is a life of abundance waiting for you. It's just all, up to you what you're going to make of it. So I just want to say thank you, Mathew. This has been so refreshing. I have learned so much from you. It was wonderful having you in this session, and I hope to, engage with you soon and learn more about your projects. And thank you so much for putting this time aside for us.
No, you're very welcome, and thank you very much for the space and the opportunity, and obviously a huge thanks to anybody that has listened in. And my wish and my prayer is that people that have taken the time will have learned something, and I'll very much look forward to continuing the conversation hereafter and into the future.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
To the audience, thank you for joining us this evening. We will be sharing Mathew's contact details and contact points and website address with you. And please network with him, and let's all make a big impact and create a beautiful society together. Have a lovely evening.
Amen. Thank you so much.